Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. Today with us is John Cherian. John is an enterprise SaaS founder. He's transforming talent for the future of work. He's an MBA. He's CEO, MD, and co-founder at Enparadigm. So live from Mumbai, India. John, I'm glad to have you on. Tell us a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, hi, Charles. Good to have you today with us. And I think you pretty much introduced most of what I had to say anyway, right? But I run this company called Enparadigm. We are an experiential learning and talent solutions organization. We build a lot of talent solutions for global corporates, for enterprise, Fortune 1000 companies around the world.
Right. And what got you started?
Yeah, so the idea was when we started, we wanted to make it easier for people to learn new skills. We felt that a lot of people are not able to perform optimally at work because they do not know how to do things in a very simple and easy manner. So we wanted to build tools that will help transfer knowledge in a very practical, actionable, and simple way to people. That was the
Right.
genesis. Yeah,
And when was that started exactly? I believe like 10, 15 years ago.
15 years ago, yes. 15 years ago was when we first started working on this space.
Wow. Okay. So 15 years ago, that's like 2010. So that was on the back of the 2008 crisis, if you'd like. How did you go through COVID and these various ups and downs in these last 15 years?
Yeah, so lots of ups and downs, in the last 15 years. In fact, I would say if it's not up, then it's down. It's literally like that, right? There's never a moment when you think that things are fine and you're just coasting along, right? So COVID was also a very roller coaster ride at that point. So dealing with everything that typical startup would go through, cash flow challenges, managing people's health, resource constraints, revenue cuts from enterprise customers, no budgets. So suddenly your revenue has got cut by 90%, but your costs are still there. So how do you still keep the engine going, right? So those are the kind of challenges that we were navigating at that time.
And as an entrepreneur, how do you sleep at night when there's like challenges like that? Like, how do you survive and keep on the grit when everything seems down?
Yeah, I think the magic is always in compartmentalization, right? That you keep things in different compartments in your head. And when you go to one compartment, then you try to see if the other compartment doesn't come and impact that.
And that means like your personal life, your family life, or is it like behaving and acting some way in some situations? Like, what does that mean precisely?
Yeah, I think more of the second part. I think as an entrepreneur, you don't really have too much luxury of time, and you can't say that when I'm with the family, then I'm completely off work, right? You end up taking a lot of micro breaks. That's typically the way we do it in this part of the world. However, from the point of view of behaving, you may be very upset at something that just happened 5 minutes back, but you can't carry that into the next conversation with you. You can't carry that kind of a feeling with you to the next conversation. You can't carry that emotion. You may have to zoom out and then think very logically, very practically. You may have to be very action oriented in your next conversation or your next meeting. You cannot get bogged down by what just happened in the last meeting.
So stoicism, sort of act on what you can control and let go of what you can't.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at things as well. Yeah.
All right. So how
Yeah.
has the company grown like in these last 15 years? Give us a portrait of that.
Yeah, so for the first 5 years, we are working in a more informal fashion. We hardly hired any employees, just the three, four of us. We were bootstrapping and we were trying to see how we can run a business in the space of talent. And we started off with business simulations. So we used to have these simulations where we brought senior leaders into a classroom, and then we would put them into different groups, and then we would make them compete against each other, through virtual companies, right? So these companies, it was like a war game. So these companies would compete for market share, they would compete for revenue, they'd compete for employees in the market. So that's what used to happen. And our simulator would simulate the business and then show them their profit and loss statements, their balance sheets, their cash flow statements, different kind of reports that they would get from a simulator, right? So that's what we used to do for the first few years. Then in 2015, we started a sales enablement platform where we moved directly from people who are senior management to people at the other end of the spectrum who are frontline sales people or third party agents for the company, for any corporate, right? And we built a sales enablement platform for them. So that kept us busy for the next 3 4 years. So we internally funded it with the profitability from the first business, and then we scaled it up to about 1 2 million ARR. And once we reached that point, then we were able to spin it off and we made that into a separate company. So two of our co-founders moved there. And then in the original business, we started productizing that. We saw a lot of scope for using AI to build simulation experiences. So we moved over the year from simulating experiences for senior management to experiences for middle management, junior management, frontline individual contributors. And we moved to a very wide range of skills and capabilities that you could learn on our platform, right? All through simulations. And we started using AI to increase the number of immersive methodologies that are possible. So instead of, for example, just typing or clicking on the mouse, you could actually just have a conversation now with an AI agent, and then you could have a back and forth, uh, simulated conversation, right? So you could simulate conversations with customers, with your reportees, or with your managers, and we could simulate tricky and difficult situations that you need to kind of learn how to deal with, right? So that's just one example. We've been able to simulate a lot of different kind of scenarios using many different kind of game engines, and be able to provide real-time feedback to users to help them learn how to approach those scenarios better.
So pre ChatGPT, I could see the relevance of that for sure. Like that wasn't super common, like to have a simulation engine. Post ChatGPT, like ChatGPT can do that pretty easily with a good prompt. So how do you distinguish yourself from that?
Yeah, so ChatGPT just gives you a very basic prompting or a simulated role play, for example, right? But when you're an enterprise, you need far more than that, right? You need the ability to curate, scenarios and situations which are very specific to your industry's roles, very specific to your industry skill sets that are required. You need to allow people to be able to go through that multiple times to improve their capability, right? So you need to keep track of how many times they've gone through a scenario. You need to see if their skill scores are improving. You need to be able to track enterprise level cohorts, and you need to also look at how, if you have a management team, maybe there are say 1,000 learners, but they are split into 6 cohorts, and each cohort reporting to a different business unit head. So you need to also be able to hold those unit heads accountable and responsible for the performance of the people on the ground, right? So there's a lot of slicing and dicing and data analytics that you need. And there's a lot of enterprise features that you also need in terms of security, data privacy, single sign-on, integration. All this obviously ChatGPT cannot provide out of the box, right? So there's a lot of stuff that is required beyond just the basic ChatGPT experience.
And how accurate is the simulation? Is it how the client wants it to be? And yeah, like give us like some example of simulation that you would give, or your best use case in a business. Is it in sales? Is it in finance? Is it in HR? Like who uses you the most usually?
Yeah, so these are different kind of simulations. The ones that we use for sales versus HR for finance would be very different methodologies of simulation. So let me take the sales simulations, right? You can simulate a particular customer. Maybe this is a distributor of yours. Maybe they're sitting in a tier 2 city, and the person is a middle-aged male character who speaks in a very gravelly voice, and who is someone who is very impatient, and who is very self-centered. So using AI, we can define the personality and the persona of the avatar, and you can simulate to the point that I want to be talking with this kind of an avatar, and then use that to practice conversations before you actually have the tricky conversations with them in real life. Right? Your company may have told you that we are reducing the incentives for distributors, and that that's a conversation that's going to upset your distributor. But if you can practice that conversation with an avatar before you actually go in on the ground, it leaves you better prepared for that, right? So this is just one use case. I'll flip to the other opposite end of the spectrum where, for example, a lot of places you have employees who are not able to communicate their feelings or emotions to you, right? And as a manager or leader, you don't even know that a person is having this kind of a problem, right? So we may even simulate situations like that where the avatar is not responsive, not really talking much, not engaging much, and we train the leader to be able to probe the person and then uncover what their challenges are, so that you can avoid losing talent if you can uncover the challenge and solve it in time, right? So these are two extremes of use cases that I just gave you now.
Got it. And what do companies pay you to use your platform? Is it per user? What's the payment plans like?
Yeah, so there are various different kind of solutions that we give. It's an enterprise play, so a lot of our solutions are designed for the client. Typical contract values would range anywhere from maybe 30-40 thousand dollars to all the way to 250,000, $300,000 per rollout.
Okay, so it's a license, a yearly license as well.
Yeah, it could be a per user license. That's based on the scope of the rollout.
And who's the decision makers? How big are the companies? For example, your ICP.
So these are all companies which are Fortune 1000 companies, and our ICP are people who are heading HR or the heading learning for the corporate or for the different business units.
And what's your secret to crack enterprise sales to reduce the sales cycle? Because yeah, these Fortune 1000 are notoriously long and hard to close.
Yeah. So I think the secret sauce that we've always had is that that have create demos which are very snazzy, and in 30 seconds the customer should be able to see value in what you're doing, right? And that should be the initial experience should be able to impress the customer very quickly. And now with the kind of AI simulations that we have now, I think we've reached there.
And do you offer a free trial or a demo with a rep? Is it self serve or?
Yeah, we give pilot cohorts to clients, so they can take a pilot for about 20-25 users. They can try out a few of the scenarios themselves, they can get user feedback and then be convinced that this is adding value.
And what's your secret to keeping them on the platform and reducing churn?
So reducing churn in this space works very differently, because what happens with learning solutions is that once you've learned something, then you don't really need to go back to that again, right? So we don't look at churn at a user level, we look at churn at an enterprise level, where you keep the customer coming back to you with different cohorts, different skill sets that you want to provide learners on the platform.
What are your top goals for this year as a CEO?
Yeah, so I think we are 100xing our product. So with AI, there's a lot of potential that we have seen, and it's very much possible to do 100 times more than what we're doing currently. So that's one major focus. We have also done a lot of international expansion. So we are doing some big global rollouts with global banks. And some of these enterprise use cases are a little tricky when you put together all the solutions that the client wants, right? So I think the priority is to make them successful.
And what does that mean, 100xing your product?
100xing the product means being able to provide scenarios in a lot more languages, being able to provide a lot more accents, being able to provide 100 times more situations and scenarios for learners to go through, and also being able to provide good analytics and reports which make it very easy for a customer to see if they're getting enterprise business value from this.
Is it like also an AI avatar when you do the simulation, or is just voice?
It's an avatar.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. And these avatars, you produce the algo in house, or do you partner with another company via API?
So there are some places where we use APIs, but a lot of it is done on our platform.
Got it.
Yeah.
Doesn't it worry you like the future of AI videos and deepfakes?
No, we are using AI videos and deepfakes in the business,
Yeah, I
right?
know,
So
but I'm asking like in the future, does it worry that this technology can be used to confuse a bunch of people? and get something out of them that
That
they're
is
not
always,
aware of.
yeah, that is always possible. You keep hearing about people getting scammed a lot. Today, with just a simple recording of yours, we can easily make an avatar which looks and talks 90% like you, right? And it's going to be difficult if someone doesn't pay close attention to make out it's a deep fake. So that's definitely an ever-present issue in today's world. So that is definitely worrying. Yes.
And your agents that you program it to role play, like at what point do they give in? Like, are they just 100% challenging you, or can you make them like 90% challenging and 10% agreeable?
So that's a great question. We can program that. So you can make the scenario very easy or medium or tough or extremely hard, right? So you can configure that. Yeah.
Right. Have you tested the grok? I forgot what it's called, but it's like a very argumentative grok.
Yeah. No, so I think we've tested it, but we don't use Grok for our production solutions because we work with large corporates, so we have to always play a bit safe.
What kind of role plays do you do as a CEO? I'm curious.
I get enough and more practice in real world, so that keeps me really busy. But mostly the role plays that might be adding value for someone of my profile would be conversations with very senior client stakeholders, conversations with investors. These are the two categories of role plays that I think might be the most tricky role plays.
Or podcast ones to practice for this podcast, for example.
Yeah, could be, yes.
How easy could it be for you to build like a Charles GPT that interviews others for this podcast? What would be the cost for me?
No, I think that can very much be done. We don't do that today. We don't build custom avatars of people as a service, right? But we've seen that that can be done with just maybe a few minutes of footage, and you can generate something that's a fairly realistic replica of the person. It's still possible to figure out, however, whether it's real or whether it's an avatar. Yeah.
Got it. And your competition, what do they do differently or worse from you? Like, how do you keep up with them?
Yes, I can talk about what we are doing differently from competition. So we have maybe 4 or 5 generations of simulation technology, right from your classroom mathematical simulators to help you simulate business situations, all the way up to conversation simulations, which are very behavioral and which are very on the fly. Right, our classroom business simulations take 2 days to play, while our conversation AI simulations take 5 minutes to play. Right, so we span the entire spectrum. So I think that's something that we are very innovative when it comes to our product, and I think that's what keeps customers engaged with us.
Do you believe that us humans were in a simulation right now?
Quite possible, very very much possible.
So would that imply that there would be more intelligent form of life sort of
Yeah,
playing with us?
if you actually think of it, your entire conscious experience is all controlled by what is behind your skull, right? And all that thing gets from the external world are maybe electrical impulses through all your sense organs. So how do you know what you're seeing is really real, right? It's you just can't figure that out,
Right.
right?
And yeah, like in quantum physics, when they try to observe stuff, it immediately changes, which is a bit creepy. It's like if someone
True,
coded something that like you cannot try to crack the back end code.
true, true. Yeah.
So like if we check reality, for example, let's say that I'm a trader, right? Like how far can I bring a simulation? Do you believe that one day we would have a computer strong enough to actually very much accurately predict the future, like 99.9% of the time?
No, I don't think that the future can be predicted because there's too much randomness that happens, right? So you can't predict the future. You can simulate different futures, but I don't think you can predict or control the future.
And define randomness. What does randomness or luck mean to you?
So randomness, it's very similar to saying that that when you throw a dice, you don't know whether you will get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, right? So for you, that's randomness. But if you were to model very, very accurately all the different interactions that happen between your dice and the environment, you will be able to predict that given an initial velocity, given an initial angle, and given a particular height at which the dice falls, the material on which it falls, you can predict which number will fall, right? But because there are so many variables, it's inherently random to you, so that's what randomness really means, that there are too many variables for you to predict.
But isn't it like that a matter of our brain not understanding and us humans not programming the robotic hand precisely enough so that it always roll? Isn't it like the same as, for example, a lot of people talk about God. God, in my opinion, is what science doesn't understand yet, but I do believe that at some point of time we'll pretty much understand
Yeah,
everything. And as a matter of fact, yeah, pretty much everything will be predictable. Now you can't control like a human mind. You can try to predict what it will do. Like that's the rebelliousness factor, I guess, in humans that would bring
yeah,
some degree of randomness. But I think even that could be predicted with time. Just you could like check what's inside all of our brains, like with waves and patterns, and eventually you could just have an AGI that could pretty much predict everything that's going to happen next, which is pretty creepy.
yeah. No, I don't think we can. I think you can broadly predict, for example, how a person might behave in a particular situation. Have you heard of the three body problem in physics?
No.
So, for example, if there are only two bodies in space, you can predict how they will revolve around each other using gravitational equations, right? But the moment you have a third body, you can't predict how the three bodies will revolve around each other, right? Over hundreds of years,
Interesting.
the errors in prediction are going to go up so much that you can't predict, right? So if even in such a precise field like physics, if you can't even predict how three bodies will move around each other over hundreds of years, then how are you going to predict what's going to happen in the real physical world, right? The moment you go from physical phenomena to biological phenomena, your error rates go up a lot more. The moment you come to social or economic phenomena, the error rates go even far more higher, right?
Yeah.
So that's how it works.
Yeah, social and the economic field is incredibly more complex. A lot of people say that these are not even science, but that's because we haven't understand it yet. Like I'm very much in the camp that I think we can predict everything with sufficient technology, with sufficient brain power. What do you think will happen with AI? We're currently about to reach AGI escape velocity, which could be defined as yeah, a brain that has action power and can learn incredibly fast and scale incredibly fast. Do you believe that is gonna happen? One, if so, how soon, and how would that change the world in the next years? Let's say.
So I think AI is definitely going to get better and better and better, right? uh, I think um, true AGI requires not just electronic circuits, it also requires robotics, because a lot of intelligence is also about you moving around and studying things around you and collecting information, right? So, for example, if you don't know what happens at the bottom of the earth or the bottom of the oceans, then your intelligence doesn't have that data, right? You have to go to the bottom of the ocean to know what is there. You have to go to Mars to know what is there. Without going to Mars, it's difficult for you to know, get intelligence about Mars, right? You can do only so much through a telescope. So it is AI plus robotics together. That's going to be a very, 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 very tricky combination. And it's again, all bets are out as to what's going to happen in the next 10 years.
And simulating AGI or scenarios of what would happen in space time would be too complex for you or your company to do.
Yeah, no, that's not something that our company does today. No.
But personal interest, is that something that crossed your mind?
Yeah, so I have always been interested in intelligence, in the study of intelligence. That's one of the reasons why we run this organization, right? Because what the pharma industry did for the biology world and the medical world, we want to do the same thing for the intellectual world, right? Being able to understand intelligence, understand memory, help people do better on that. Yeah.
Got it. Well, John, thanks for being on today. Where can people find out more about you?
Okay, www.nparadigm.com, and also my LinkedIn profile, linkedin.com/John Cherian 1. Yeah, you can find me there.
All right. So that was Charles and John for